Welcome to Salsido Paranormal. I'm your host, James Salsido, and tonight I am sharing experiences, true paranormal stories from the web. As always, you can find all episodes of the show along with links to social media, ways to listen, and ways to support the show at the website, and that is salsidoparanormal.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.com. There's many ways to support the show if you decide to do so. You can always share the show with others and rate and review it on your favorite podcast platforms. You can sign up for the Patreon feed for as little as $1 a month and get extra content there. Also, all the benefits for all the paid membership tiers are the same. So um, you can literally sign up for the $1 tier and get all the same benefits as if you were to sign up for a higher one. You can also check out the merchandise store, and we will have some special items coming uh, in the beginning of October. Maybe not the 1st of October, but around there, to celebrate Halloween and the 5-year anniversary of the podcast. Uh, Support is never expected, as there are always, but words are hard. Support is never expected, but always appreciated. That's the part I was skipping, as there are always expenses in making these shows. Also, please check out links to friends of the show. That would be Jen, the Arcane Observer, who is usually the co-host of this show on Saturdays and has her own channel, and Michael Strange of Trouble Minds Radio and the Trouble Minds Radio Network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting, where you can hear all kinds of amazing shows as well as my own 24/7, and without having to press a play button or search for episodes over and over again. You just hit play once and you're good. I think that covers everything. So looking forward to getting to these true stories here. I've So yeah, let me see here. Let me get to the file here. Thank you all for listening, and to those of you who make it to the live streams, thank you all for being here when you're able. And let me get to these experiences here. So this first one says, I worked in the lab at a factory for a month not too long ago. I did the basic quality control of the samples so that my colleagues had more time to focus on the other things that had to be done. On my final day, I had to finish a bit earlier so I could change clothes, put my work outfit into the bin so they would get washed, and I headed back to the lab to turn in my keys and the personal tag I needed to open the gate to get onto the factory terrain. The lab was empty when I returned. It was a little past 4 p.m., so everyone already left. I reached into my pocket with all my keys and placed the keys for my locker next to each other. And after that, I grabbed my badge and placed it right next to the keys. The only things in my pocket at this point were the key for my bike lock, and the key for my house. After that, I went outside, grabbed the key to unlock my bike, and headed to the exit of the site. While riding my bike, I was wondering how I could exit since I didn't have my badge to open the gate. Since I couldn't leave that way, I backed up at the gate and used the exit for trucks. After that, I just drove home, thinking it was all good. When I arrived home and reached in my pocket to open the door, the first thing I felt was my badge. When I looked at it, my first thought was, if this is my badge, then what did I place next to the locker keys? Then I thought that maybe I had placed it there and took it back because I needed to leave the factory terrain. But that would be weird because when I went outside, I was wondering how I could open the gate since I didn't have it. Even if I took it, I would have felt it when I put my hand in my pocket to take the key to open my bike lock. I went inside, tossed it on the table, and looked at it for a minute, absolutely confused as to how it suddenly reappeared into my pocket. To this day, I still don't understand how it happened. And that's an amazing one. Let me just check and make sure everything is still good because I saw my screen go black for a second, or at least part of the screen, but looks okay. Um, so yeah, that is an odd one, and it really is weird when objects seem to vanish and or appear like that. And there's so many reports of this. I find these fairly often. I think if you were to go back and listen to all my shows where I share these true stories, you would find every so often an account similar to this. Funny thing, so I won't say who it was because it's not as important for the story, but I had a really weird thing happen with objects vanishing and appearing recently. So I have a friend that wanted to send me something that they made on their own that I could use, sort of a arts and crafts kind of thing, and they also wanted to buy my latest book. So um, I bought I bought a copy of my book to then have here for when I was going to send it to my friend, and I set it down on my table once it got here. I didn't even open the package that I got from Amazon, and I just set it on the table. And then at some point, I don't remember moving it, but either I moved it or something happened to it because it wasn't there anymore. And so I thought, well, I must have just moved it. So I just let it go, and I figured I'd look for it some other time. And I found out when the package from my friend was supposed to arrive. So I made sure I checked the mail that day, and there was all the usual junk mail, and envelopes, and ads, and all that stuff. And then in along with that was a copy of my book that I was going to send to them. Now I don't know how I ordered two books, if I did that, or what happened, or if this was the first book somehow re-arriving at my mailbox. Uh, but I brought it in and set it down, and it was fine. And so the next day, oh, and of course, the package from my friend had not arrived yet in the mailbox. So I thought, well, that's odd. I got something I wasn't expecting that I do need, but I didn't get the package from my friend. So I brought in the mail, set everything down, including the book package, and just didn't think about it that day. And I figured, well, it'll come tomorrow or whenever. So the next day, this got me thinking though about that book, that original book that I set down somewhere and it vanished. And so I decided to look around the apartment. And when I look around for things, because I'm legally blind, I also feel for them. And I'm pretty. Um, when I set things down, I set them in places for reasons, so that they'll be easy to find again. And I was so looking around and feeling around, and I still had the book, which was good. And I found on my table in a spot where I know nothing was there, nothing like this was there before. I found a package, a small package, and it was like one of those shipping envelopes. and it was the package from my friend. Now, it was not in the mail from the day before. I sorted through all that. I looked through all that. It wasn't in there. And even if I somehow missed it, it wasn't even anywhere near the place on the table where I set the mail. So I don't know what happened there, except it was paranormal, unexplained. Uh, and it really amazes me because even if, let's say, someone who's a lot more skeptical than I am at this point, um, they could write off, I guess, the copy or the copies of my book and say, well, you must have set it somewhere and you just cannot find it, and you also ordered another one. And if I want to be um, if I wanted to, I could agree with them, or just take that and let that be their thought or whatever. That's fine. But then, how did the package from my friend arrive, just appear on my table when I'm the only one that lives here, other than my cat Logan? Um, and I was here the whole time between when I brought the mail back that day and then the next day when I found the package. I don't uh, I don't leave home a ton, so I'm here a lot, and I don't know. I have no idea how to explain that. But it's just amazing to me because it wasn't a scary experience. It was just really amazing, really confusing, but also amazing because how did that happen? Uh, it makes me wonder about the whole idea of sort of glitches in the matrix or in reality where things are supposed to happen certain ways, and when they don't, some force or some consciousness or whatever you want to call it, something or someone out there or some individuals realize this and they fix things somehow, and it leads to these situations where if I wasn't paying attention, I guess I could just write it off and say, well, I must have been mistaken. I must have put it there somehow, been totally not paying attention to what I was looking at or what I was doing, and did that, even though I know that's not what happened. So anyway, I do wonder about that. And as far as the whole that being tied to the whole simulation theory, the idea that we live in some kind of a simulation or a matrix, popularized by the whole Matrix movies, Matrix series. Uh, I don't know. I don't like it. I hope that's not the case. But also, even if we are, then obviously we're still here. We're still just trying to get by. And so it doesn't really matter if that is the nature of things, um, except in certain ways it does. But either way, there's not a ton that we can individually do about it. So just some wild experiences that people have and that I've had that do make me wonder about the nature of reality. It is just really wild. So I haven't. This happened a little while back now, and I haven't shared it. Oh, and I never did find that first book. Like it hasn't just appeared or it hasn't been found anywhere, and so I don't know. Was that second book really the first book? That's another question too, and I don't know. Anyway, let's get back to these other true stories here. And thank you all for being there and listening. And I see everyone there. Hello, Sweets, and hello, Mike. Thank you for being here. So let's get back to the true stories. And let's see here. Scroll down a little bit. So this one says, I have a friend that I used to go and stay with every once in a while in her 100-year-old log cabin. that used to be the main lodge of a resort on a lake. She's lived there for maybe 30 years. I know there's a man there in a flannel shirt plaid with red as a very dominant color, a pack of cigarettes in the front pocket, right pocket. He seems younger to middle aged, has brown hair, a tan face, and forearms. He wears jeans. He has a clipboard that he held like he was writing on it. A few details that I've written as they've occurred to me are as follows. He was never facing me directly. I just saw the side of his face. He never moved. He wasn't friendly or not friendly. I didn't know him, yet he seemed familiar. I don't feel connected to him, but I don't exactly feel not connected to him. He in no way seemed malevolent. The thing is, I never actually saw him with my eyes. I just saw him with my mind. With complete confidence, I knew or know that he was and is there. It's hard to explain. My friend says she's been completely unaware of him, and I believe her. Any ideas of who this guy might be and why I seem to know him or know of him, but my friend does not? And that's where that one ends. It sounds to me like maybe they're picking up on some kind of a residual imprint of someone there that maybe used to live there or in the area. Uh, there is a phenomenon that I've heard of through other shows, specifically the show I used to listen to. I don't so much now because there's so many shows to keep track of. But this show I used to listen to that I liked a lot, called Strange Familiars, where they kind of discovered or at least cataloged a lot of these, not necessarily these because I don't know if this is the same or not, but these sightings of mostly men, but people, apparitions wearing flannel. It sounds weird in a way, but there's a lot of reports. And this other show, this Strange Familiars, has cataloged a lot of those. And mostly from people that listened in and wrote about it and all these things. The difference between this account here and most of what I heard in that other show is this figure doesn't seem to be interacting or moving, and it almost seems, based on the way the writer describes them, it doesn't even seem like like it's a sentient being in that they don't move, they don't react. The writer doesn't see them with their eyes. The owner of the place where the writer senses this being, this apparition, has never had a feeling of anything being there or seen anything there. So it's not quite the same as that. It is only similar in the description of the appearance of the figure. But so yeah, and then just the way the figure does not move, doesn't ever react, it makes me think of some kind of really strong, either a sensitivity on the part of the writer, and or a really strong residual image for whatever reason of this man in this spot and this property. Uh, it's residual energy and the ability to sense it is really amazing to me because it does seem like sometimes people can pick it up, sometimes people can't. There are so many accounts I've found over the years where people, uh, you can have two or three or more people be in the same place. This is not so much with residual things necessarily, I don't think, but uh, be in the same place and report to see some say that they report that they saw something, but then when they describe it to each other, it's like they all saw different things. Um, I forget now if it was my show or somewhere else, but I remember finding this story of two or three people that saw. I think it was my show, maybe a couple of years ago. These three friends that saw this figure, and one person saw it as a shadow figure. One person saw it as a figure of light, and the other I don't think even saw anything, if I'm not mistaken, or barely did. And the senses that the dark figure gave off to the person that saw a dark figure was negative. The person that saw a figure of light thought it was more positive. So were they all seeing the same being or sensing? I don't know, but to me that really is an amazing thing when you have these accounts, and I think it makes it hard for other people who maybe have not had any experiences to, in some cases, to take all this seriously because uh, then if you're a lot more skeptical about these things, you might say, well, that's impossible. Three people cannot have or see or sense three different things from the same place. But I'm not so sure about that based on just so many accounts of similar things happening, uh, where people get different senses from these figures that they see. I'm just going to fill out the rest of the show here because there's not really enough time to read a bunch more. But and this goes back to something I bring up every once in a while where I think sometimes when we have an experience of something we can't explain and we become afraid or frightened, it's it's easy to jump from that fright or that fear to then conclude that whatever you're experiencing is evil. When really it could just be that you're frightened because you're witnessing something that you can't explain. And that's a big part of this show here is that I think we have to focus on what, if anything, we are picking up or experiencing or sensing from these anomalous experiences, and go with those feelings or that intuition uh, outside of whatever it is we're seeing or hearing. Because if if we're just reacting with fear, then we could be missing out on something important about the experience. Uh, so I'm just really curious about that whole interaction, and I had a thought, but I lost it. I think so. But yeah, so many people report um, shadow figures that they don't get any negative sense from. So, and some people don't feel anything from the experiences, or they feel like it's a neutral thing. Oh, and the thing I wanted to say, I remember now, is that we do need to. I think we need to trust our intuition, but also be aware that our intuition can be wrong. So, but that's the best we can do in any situation, I think, paranormal or otherwise. Anyway, that's all the time we have for this episode. Thank you all for listening, and I will talk to you all next time on Salsido Paranormal. Take care.